I'm Paul from Contact Renovation to Custom Homes. This is the Art of Renovation Live, our question and answer episode. And now we're talking about what is a realistic budget for your kitchen renovation. So our average kitchens that we do are probably somewhere between that $60,000 to $70,000 price range. Those are our average kitchens. And we'll do, a handful of kitchens a year that are over $100,000, and we'll do a handful a year that are down in that $40,000 to $50,000 range. And some can be less, depends on the home. But typically speaking, it'll really depend on a few key factors. Are you reconfiguring the kitchen? Are you taking out any walls or any of them bearing? Are we having to do extensive removal of drywall and maybe ceilings to accommodate the new lighting layouts associated with it? And then, ultimately your biggest single cost in the kitchen will be your cabinets. And you can see Cucina Bella just commented 4 sacks of cash. So I don't know how much cash is in each sack, but you're right, Rebecca. Absolutely, the kitchen cabinets can be the most expensive part, and it depends what you pick. Right, on the low end, you can go with a prefab product or an IKEA product, or you can get into your custom kitchen cabinets. And I always prefer to put in a custom cabinet because ultimately you're going to get then the kitchen that you really want. Right. We can design cabinets that are going to fit specifically into the space that you have, and won't get stuck with nearly as many little filler panels or voids as you might when you're stuck using a prefabricated product that only comes in certain sizes. So, so as far as like a good kitchen budget, and it depends on who you're hiring to do the job too. Like my company, Contact Renovations, I have some serious overhead. I've got a shop space here, I got a bunch of trucks, I have a bunch of employees, and as a result, that impacts what I need to charge as a contractor, right? And we also adhere to best practice. So we do things in a way that we feel is the best possible way to do it, and we don't cut corners. But as a result, that creates a cost within the construction cost of your project overall, right? So if you have someone with very low overhead who can do a job for you and you trust them, then that's great, right? Will they be there in the long term to be able to service that product for you and honor warranties, all that kind of stuff? That's really a different conversation for you to have with your contractor. So, for us, we think a budget between $60,000 to $70,000 gets you into a really nice kitchen. And what we consider kind of standard on our end is already upgraded, right? So one thing to consider is, let's talk about your plumbing fixtures, for example, in your kitchen. So in our standard jobs, when we're putting together pricing, what we call a rough estimate for a potential kitchen project, I'll use $850 for your allowance for your kitchen sink, and I'll use $650 for your kitchen faucet. Those are nice, handsome allowances. So when you go to the showroom eventually to go pick your sink, you'll have plenty of choices, right? If you want to pick one that's $300, you're now saving money and you're reducing your total project cost. But if you opt for the granite sink, that's $1,500, and your allowance was $850, now you're raising your project cost. But same with your faucet, right? So we build our projects with nice, handsome allowances so that you have plenty of options at the showroom once we get into design and selections, right? So when I say our kitchen budgets are 60 to 70K, that's based on really nice allowances. You've got quartz granite countertops, you have standard under cabinet lighting, coming with backsplash tile. We're expecting to do an LED pot lighting grid in the kitchen. We're expecting to have pendant lighting if there's an island. We're expecting to make sure that all your plumbing, electrical, and HVAC is code compliant. So that's what you get within the price range that we discuss. And this kind of all goes hand in hand, I think, with the next question that we had, which is, why is there such a variation in price between the quotes you get on your project, right? And a big part of that is how people build an estimate and how much do you know up front to be able to specify what you want exactly. So when you're asking about a kitchen budget, well, I have some questions for you first, because I don't know really, me saying 60 to 70,000, that's just based on our historical data for the jobs that we've done, right? And we generally service a client who wants something that's very nice, that they like how we adhere to best practice, and they're adding in there some bells and whistles and some nice little options to really class up the space, right? We don't generally come in and try to do, cheapest possible option, just base model type of stuff, we tend to stay away from that because that's not what makes us excited, right? And so anyway, so if you're planning a kitchen reno and you're asking what the range is, you need to understand, well, what's your scope of work first? So is the layout changing? Are there any walls being removed? Are you reconfiguring any windows to accommodate your new layout? Are we having to replace the ceiling? And is there asbestos abatement required? If you're in a house from the 50s, 60s, 70s, you might have a problem with asbestos if we have to go and modify walls. What cabinet spec do you want, right? IKEA, prefab, or custom, but even within, say, the custom range, you can decide, do you want a thermofoil door? Do you want an MDF painted door? Do you want a solid wood stained grade door? And then even within how the cabinets are built, there's so many different options. If it's a bunch of cupboard doors, that's one price. If you have a ton of pullouts and drawers, then that's going to raise the construction cost, right? So are you doing extensive lighting layout changes within the area? And ultimately, what are you selecting for your finishes as far as your countertop, your backsplash tile? All those different selections you have are going to dictate the price to some extent. And even within a quartz countertop, you can get them at $86 a square foot installed. You can get them at $350 a square foot or higher installed. So it depends on what you pick for your product ultimately. So, it's really difficult to say what your kitchen's going to cost unless you have a very clear scope and spec. But I think realistically, $60,000 to $70,000 would give you a really nice kitchen, one that you're going to be excited to work in, spend time in, show off to your friends and family, and one you're going to love for a long time. That's going to be high quality products that will hold up to the wear and tear of being at home and cooking, and hopefully sometime soon hosting dinner parties and all those fun things again. So anyhow, thanks for that question.